Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Las Vegas. It is so wonderful to be with all of you today, both virtually and in person. My name is Nina. I was born with 2 X chromosomes. I'm a queer cisgender woman, and today I use she, her pronouns. I'm serving as your worship associate this morning. This service was crafted with support from our friend Margaret Johnston, who is agender, queer, and non-binary. In this space, their pronouns are they, them. Our worship leader this morning is the Reverend Gordon Clay Bailey, who uses he, him pronouns. When we gather together, we light the chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. The chalice reminds us that we are connected to a much larger religious tradition that stretches out of the past, reaches all the way around the world, and leans into our shared future. Now please join with me. We light the chalice as a reminder that together we are a beacon in the desert. May its light lead the way to love, acceptance, and justice as we strive for personal and societal transformation. Now I have the good fortune of inviting our friend Vernon up here to speak a little bit on why he loves UUCLV.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vernon Bell, the treasurer for UUCLV, and I use his and he pronouns. I've been asked to say why I love UUCLV. I actually wandered in here about two and a half years ago, basically online, and spent that whole time because it was, in the middle of the pandemic, or at least the beginning of it. And I found that I really identified with the message that UUCLV was putting out. I was, of course, a Baptist raised person. My father was a Baptist minister who kind of traveled around. He actually ended up as a part of the clergy that's supported the boot camp in Illinois, because that's where I'm from, Chicago. And I've seen lots of different religious organizations through my life. I actually, because I spent so much time in Mississippi as a kid, my grandmother had us baptized in the creek outside of the church, Muddy Creek. But that was quite an experience. But over my 64 years, I have come to realize that I've actually been a Unitarian since birth because of the way I felt. I've served in many organizations volunteering because I really feel that I was lucky enough to have the intelligence and be able to earn a pretty good living. I wanted to give back and try to raise up some of the other people that were around me, especially since I was in Chicago, and probably one of the worst neighborhoods that you could be in as a kid growing up. But my mom worked hard and tried to keep us out of the gangs and everything. But I love UUCLV because of this giving nature of this organization. And as treasurer, I have to give you this pitch. We're coming to the end of our pledge drive, and it's so important to support this organization because we do so much to outreach the community through social programs, the food pantry, the fact that we have this group of people here that all share similar beliefs and goals. We want to make sure that the church continues to grow and have the strength to be able to support our pastor, support all the lights, the air conditioning, the fact that we have other bills. We want to make sure that everyone does what they can. We're not expecting you to overreach, but the minimum for pledging is $180. That's what we have to give to UUA to support each and every member. So that's about $15 a month. So please consider pick up that pledge. and support us so that we can keep doing our mission here. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Gordon Clay Bailey, and I'm so glad you are with us today. Our opening words today are from Alok, an internationally acclaimed author, poet, comedian, public speaker, and performance artist who elevates topics on gender, politics, race, and trauma. Alok uses they/them pronouns and identifies as gender nonconforming and trans feminine. As we listen to them describe the danger and datedness of the gender binary, think about the ways in which you've tolerated labels that society has prescribed for you, even when they didn't feel right.
That audio was kind of low, so if you weren't able to hear all of their words, I encourage you to look that clip up on YouTube and watch it again later because their words are very prophetic. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Las Vegas is situated on the traditional homelands of the Nuwuvi Southern Paiute people. We are grateful for the land itself, for those who have stewarded it for generations, and for the opportunity to worship, learn, work, grow, and be in community with this land and her people. We encourage everyone present here to engage in continued learning about the Indigenous peoples who work and live on this land since time immemorial, including the Las Vegas Paiute tribe and the Moapa Band of Paiutes, and about the historical and present realities of colonialism. It is important to recognize and appreciate the use of Southern Paiute land as a part of our mission to be a welcoming and inclusive place for worship, spiritual enrichment, and exploration within the community. Abikwa'ame, also called Spirit Mountain, is a sacred site in the Mojave and Sonoran deserts in southern Nevada. The mountain and surrounding land, around 500,000 acres in total, are newly designated as a national monument, ensuring this area will be preserved. Yeah, worth celebrating for sure. Look at this. Our opening hymn today is Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Will be led by song leader Margaret today. It is hymn 188, I believe, in the Gray Hymnal, if you'd like to take a look at it. If you have it committed to memory, feel free to stand in body or spirit and join with us as we sing.
Yes, we'll be singing this 3 times through. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come yet again, come.
Now we're going to do something called the Pronoun Pop-Up, and it's our opportunity to share with you on this Transgender Day of Visibility a little bit about pronouns, what it means when we say pronouns, how to address the conversation about people's pronouns to make sure that no one is misgendered and no one is made invisible. So there are a couple of voices in the sanctuary that you'll hear as we walk through this next session.
A pronoun is a word that refers to either the people talking, like I or you, or someone or something that is being talked about, like she, it, them, and this. Gender pronouns, he, she, they, ze, etc., specifically refer to the person you are referring to. Pronouns are part of someone's gender expression, and people can have multiple sets of pronouns for themselves, such as using both he, him, his, and they, them, theirs. Pronouns are not preferred, but instead are required for respectful communication. Everyone uses pronouns, not just transgender or gender nonconforming people.
When we use pronouns like she or he to identify a person without asking them what pronouns they use, we might be assuming about that person's gender that differs from their gender identity. Assuming someone uses pronouns that they do not may lead to someone being misgendered, which often causes them to feel disrespected, marginalized, and invisible. Some people express their gender in a non-binary way and use pronouns such as they, them, or ze, her, hers. People who look to be one gender to you may identify as another gender.
So, how do we avoid making incorrect assumptions about gender pronouns and make our own community welcoming to transgender, gender non-binary, and gender creative people? Ask. Or use gender neutral pronouns like they or them. Other gender neutral pronouns that someone may use include sie, zer.
Using the correct pronouns for someone is important and sometimes can be intimidating if you don't know. So try these tips. Number 1, be direct in asking. What pronouns do you use? Recognize that while this may make some people feel confused, it also is an awesome opportunity to explain why you're asking, and it will really mean something to those who have been misidentified previously. Number 2, introduce yourself using your pronouns. Incorporate them into the general introduction that you use so a good model is set for everyone. Number 3, partially conjugate the pronouns you use during introductions. For example, I use she, her, hers pronouns. Buttons or stickers that signal this can be helpful too. You've seen Margaret's they, them pronoun, or they, them button. It's very cool. Yeah. Next, don't say I use female pronouns or I use male pronouns. Instead, be clear with the specific pronouns that you use. Avoid jokingly saying things like, well, I use she, her pronouns, obviously, because we're trying to get past assumptions. Finally, asking people to share pronouns does not tell you anything about a person's identity, just how they like to be addressed, like their name. Further details about sexuality and gender identity can and should be explored with further loving conversation.
It is a privilege to not have to worry about which pronoun someone is going to use for you based on how they perceive your gender. If you have this privilege, yet fail to respect someone else's gender identity, it is disrespectful and hurtful. If you misgender someone, apologize right away and try again. And if you hear others misgendering someone, be a kind ally and gently correct them. And remember, you can't expect that if you ask once, you're set for forever. Identities are fluid, and it is an act of love to check in.
We will now ground ourselves and honor those with whom we will share this time. I invite you to settle into your seat. Feel the chair holding your body. Imagine the earth holding you. Take in a deep, comfortable breath and exhale. Let the joy and the despair and the frustration and the satisfaction of the week trickle off your shoulders. Let it collect in your hands. Set them down, not ignored or abandoned. They'll join you on the rest of your journey today. But for now, they can rest. Allow yourself to be present in this space. Now, please find a way to acknowledge those with whom we share this time together. Look around and share a smile, place your hand over your heart, or give a small wave. This part always reminds me of growing up in a Lutheran church where we would do the peace be with yous. You shake the hand, peace be with you, peace be with you. Yeah, I remember being really small and giving peace to the really big adults around me, not really understanding what peace be with you meant at the time. I invite you to now return to the larger circle. If you have someone that you would like to be held up on Zoom, please add their name to the chat. Today, we hold up Arabelle Tetlow, Travis Maston, Dominic Stoll, and Red LeCain of UU Bakersfield Fellowship. Irma, is there anyone in the chat?
We have Dan Tossig, Candace Ross, Miranda Ernst.
May we hold all those displaced or alone, and all these names spoken here, and all those held in the silence of our hearts, in love and compassion. So the Reverend and I are now going to be walking us through a meditation called May I. This is a Buddhist meditation, and it's a movement meditation. So we invite you to move as you feel good and comfortable doing so. You can do it in your seat if you'd like. It's going to be a call and response. So I will step to the side and model where we'll put our hands at different times in the meditation. Rev will speak the first. Rev will introduce the line, and then we will, using the words on the screen, repeat it.
Are you ready? May I see things as they really are and not how I want them to be. May I accept the reality of this moment with the understanding of impermanence.
May I accept the reality of this moment with the understanding of impermanence.
May I truly listen. May I hear things as they really are, not as how I want them to be.
May I hear things as they really are, not as how I want them to be.
May I speak from my heart. May my words be honest and kind. May I use my voice with confidence. May I say things as they really are, not as how I want them to be. May my heart be open. May my heart be calm. May I love freely and deeply without attachment. May I listen to my intuition. May I understand and respect the power of creation that lies within me. May I remain grounded in clarity. May I bend and sway with the wind, knowing that my roots are firmly planted. May my body be strong, healthy, and nourished. May my body serve as a channel for source. May I be light. May my actions be generous, fair, and kind to earth and to all inhabitants. May my actions be generous, fair, and kind to earth and all inhabitants. May my actions plant seeds of positivity. May my actions plant seeds of positivity. When I have to make trade-offs, may my actions serve the greater good. When I have to make trade-offs, may my actions serve the greater good. Amen.
We gather as a religious community to give each of us a place where we can do the work of many. The offering supports the mission of the congregation to be a beacon of love and justice in the desert, and supports local organizations working to make our community a better place for all. The offering this month is shared with Street Teens. Street Teens is dedicated to assisting homeless, abandoned, and at-risk youth in the Las Vegas Valley. The link to donate your offering will be in the chat on Zoom, and the plates are coming around right now. And now, please join me. With gratitude for the abundance in our own lives, we give for the life of this congregation and the benefit of the larger community.
From you I receive, or we receive, to the community we give. Thank you all.
The reading today is called A Prayer for One Who Transitions by Aitan Meshulam Chai. This author used the Tefillat Haderk, which is the Hebrew Traveler's Prayer, as an inspiration for this piece of art. They said, as a transgender person, transitioning is like a journey to me, and thus I feel like a traveler along the path of life. I rewrote the prayer to be about the transformation of the self and the body, and asking Hashem to protect me along my transition in the physical, spiritual, and emotional sense. True to tradition, this prayer speaks directly to the Jewish God. Please listen to your soul and translate so that it feels good for your system here today. May it be your will, Yahweh, our God and the God of our ancestors, that you transform me in peace, and change me in peace, and turn me in peace, and renew me in peace, and bring me to the body of my soul, for like and for joy and for peace, and save me from the hand of every enemy and lurker, and those who despite me along the way, and from all doubts that excite and come into the world. And may you send blessing in all the creations of my hand. And may you place me into grace and into kindness, and into mercy in your eyes, and in the eyes of all who see me, and gift me with the good deed. And may you hear the voice of my prayers, for you hear the prayers of every mouth. Blessed are you, Yahweh, who hears my prayer.
Can we agree that all life is beautiful? That wasn't resounding. As I pondered, is all life beautiful? I foolishly looked on the internet. And of course, there were so many sightings of people who said, oh no, that person's baby is hideous. Or my ex-husband, I got that from you, Hillary. My husband, no, monstrous. I mean, so it's not generally accepted that all life is beautiful, is it? There are segments of the population, though, that do care enough to put that kind of thought process at the center of their being, right? Who sang that song? Everyone is beautiful. Teddy, I should have asked you, man, if I knew you was coming. That was a popular song. Was Were the 1970s a kinder and gentler time in our lives? Wow. Well, maybe. Some say no. Some say yes. It depends on who you are and where you were living. Huh? It depends on what gender you are or were or understood yourself as, and what the laws were like in your land. It depends how educated you are and how privileged you are, right? Everyone is beautiful. Yes. Now, I have another prayer because this is a prayer-filled day for me in a service. And this prayer comes to us from a colleague of mine, Barb Grieve. When I met Barb, Barb was transitioning, and Mr. Barb Grieve penned these words. Blessed are the trailblazers who brought us this far and are still trailblazing and still celebrating. Blessed are the drag queens and kings who remind us not to take life too seriously. Blessed are the gender benders, non-binary, gender fluid, and third gender folk, those who challenge us to reframe our gender paradigm. Blessed are the young ones who present fearlessly from the start. Blessed are their parents who make space for freedom and love their children fiercely. Blessed are siblings and relatives who educate, support, and love us as we are. Blessed are the genderqueer youth who are struggling and persist. Blessed are the 90-year-olds just coming out and those who have been out for decades. Blessed are those whose lives were cut too short. May their stories live on through us. Blessed are the survivors. May they keep on living. Blessed are the allies learning to be accomplices. Blessed are those gathered here today. Blessed are the approximate 40 of you who showed up today. In this congregation of over 100, you are the blessed ones. You took the time, took the effort, came on a Sunday when you might have been doing something else. I still love to stay at home with a bagel in the New York Times and the Washington Post. That's the best Sundays I ever have. There are only a few of them each year, but I treasure them. But when you choose to step out of your comfort and come into congregational life, not knowing what the heck this minister or this congregation will offer you in a dialogue about trans visibility, that says a whole lot. Maybe you thought I was going to stumble and fall on my face, because I might just. Because this is still all new to me, even though it's not new. I had to think long and hard about those first trans people I ever can recognize in my mind's eye. I was living in the Bronx. I had to be 4 or 5. I was in love with Diana Ross at the time. Yeah, the Supremes were my thing. Ooh, Lady Diana. That's my Lady Diana. Skinny Minnie. Huh. And there was a group of what I perceived of as guys living across the street who dressed like the Supremes. And I kept asking my mom and dad, my sister, my grandparents, what's going on? I was confused. Why wouldn't I be? No one had explained any of this to me. There was no Dr. Seuss book out at that time. Is there one now that explains? Y'all got to write that. The non-Zeus book on what's real with the human family. Dealing with body images, gender images, notions about they and them or he and she or what and where didn't didn't come into my consciousness. I hadn't yet learned about othering, but oh, as a little black boy, I soon found out. See, on my block, I was safe. There were white and black people. There were queer people, though I didn't know it. There were people of all varieties, Jewish and Catholic, Protestant and atheist, conservative and liberal. But all I knew was that I was a person that was being treated and seen and loved. How many of us have been somewhere where we weren't seen, weren't acknowledged, and definitely didn't get any love? Huh? Let me see some hands. Somebody been through that experience? Yeah, it's happened to quite a few of you. I bet you those out there that are watching on Zoom. I hope there's some folks watching on Zoom, Keith. We got some? All right, a few folks out there. Hello, Zoom people. I want to say, what, to my friend? Come up here a second. You want to come up here and be seen by the Zoom audience? This is a friend of ours all the way from California? Colorado. California. Yeah.
And my mom, Marilyn.
And your mom, Marilyn's in California.
Yeah. And
She's on Zoom. Hello, Erica. So glad you came to see us.
I'm so happy to be here.
Listen, this person put up with me for 7 days on board a ship and even came to get some more. That shows you that beauty for everybody thing lives inside of Erica and some of you, because here you are. But this othering phenomenon that I'd like to just touch on for just a minute, it hurts some groups more than others. You see, as I did my demographic research to try to find out, well, how many trans people are in this country of ours, and there was some differentiation between 1.3 million and 2.3 million, and 1 million, that's a lot. That's a big difference, right? Well, everybody who may have transitioned themselves hasn't gotten into the books, right? People just living their lives. And this non-binary thing, which makes perfect sense to me intellectually, right? And yet, how many of us have been brave enough to even consider, I'm not going to fall into those platforms or those pipelines, those boxes that was already set for us long before we were even here. Lisa says the best sermon I ever gave was something about queer as folks or something like that. And I came out and said I was in love with a boy named Bradley Dick. That was his real name. You're supposed to laugh. When somebody says Dick from a pulpit, yo, where y'all at? Right? But his last name was Dick. And he smelled like tangerines. And I think I alluded to that before because I love tangerines. And so, of course, I loved Bradley. I would have married him if I could have. Just, for the smell of it. But as I grew past that love of Bradley and walked through this journey of life for some 45 years or so, I'm not 45, I'm 61. Who am I lying to? I came to realize that I had been part of the othering, that I had been part of a group of people, whether I was a jock in high school or I was a Navy guy or I was a black man that was angry at the world and treated mostly everybody with that anger. I had to come to grips with the fact that I was part of the problem. See, I've been part of the problem. And it really wasn't until I did my residency in a hospital that I had to come face to face with ministering to a queer community. It was when the hospital still had an HIV unit. And it changed me for forever. Because no longer was I seeing someone who had a label other than mine, cisgendered, Negro, male, whatever, straight, supposedly. Anyway, at least, you know, a lot of middle-aged men come out. I'm not there, baby. I have seen a lot of cute men in my lifetime, though. I thought about it, but I haven't gone there. But I thought maybe a little longer than I should. But out of my own box, I had to be able to say, Gordon, you've been wrong. If she is queer, I shouldn't care. If they are non-binary, that's right, Rose, I love you, baby. It shouldn't matter. But all my life, I had been told that these things matter. The Presbyterian, the Methodist, the Episcopalian, all the churches I went to, except the Unitarian Universalists, were telling me that those people had done something wrong, deserved to go somewhere I didn't want to go. None of us want to go there. Was Tiny Tim queer? I don't know. I'm wondering, I'm looking back in my mind and thinking he's one of the first men I knew to have really long hair. Would it matter? No. And that's the point. This otherizing, this othering involving putting negative attributes and characteristics to people that differentiate themselves from perceived normalcy. This otherizing, it is an us versus them way of thinking about human connections and relationships. The process involves and it invokes something deep and wicked and wrong. So I'm a Negro, so what? Are you Polish? So what? Not Polish, not Polish. Are you Irish? Kind of, sort of, maybe. So what? Othering is a way negating another person's individuality, their humanity, and consequently, those that have been othered have been seen as less worthy, less dignified, less deserving of respect. Now, we Unitarian Universalists have had the audacity to have our first principles say, we see you. You're visible, you're respected, you're valued, right? That inherent worth and dignity doesn't necessarily say all the words it should say, because in my book, you're loved should be the first principle. But that sense of inherent worth and dignity is manifest in the ways we welcome one another. New York and California and this county here seems to have Miami also, but they're kind of under the radar. More people who identify as queer than other places in the United States, right? Come on, Californians, you knew they were. California's twice the size of 3/4 of every other state or more. So everything is bigger in California, right? New York used to be that way. People used to get on buses to come to New York City so they could hide. Not hide from themselves. Hide from the hideousness of those towns and villages and cities where they were otherized, worse than otherized, attacked. There are so many signs about otherizing, right? They may involve the unconscious assumptions that we carry with us in our day-to-day living. We attribute positive qualities to those people who we think are staying in their lane. You're in your box. You're just what you're supposed to be. Oh, you're a black man. You must be a Democrat. You play basketball. You love fried chicken, don't you? Right? Those are attributes somebody would say a black male would have. Vernon, am I lying? No. Oh, you're white. You can't dance. Your food isn't spicy enough unless you're Italian or Greek. I don't know how many white folks make spicy foods, right? Maybe Spaniards, Portuguese, those Southern Mediterranean type white folks, right? You're uptight. Yeah. Well, there is that. The exact causes of othering can vary from one situation to the next, but unconsciously, make no mistakes about it, human beings are doing it. We're doing it constantly. Look at the car they're driving. Yeah. What'd you say about green hair? Is my hearing working good? Yeah, I know. I had a whole lot of assumptions about the multicolored hair people. Now I want my hair to be some color other than what it is now. Maybe it's just a hair thing and has nothing else to do with anything. Or maybe you're telling something about yourself. And isn't that your right? In-group bias, out-group bias. This is a constant normative way that those who dare to be different have to deal, right? Somebody judging them. Well, we're supposed to be we won't judge people, except if you don't pay at least $180. I'm going to judge. If this congregation got to pay for your membership, no. Hillary? You didn't get me to do that. No, she didn't. We don't judge. Unitarian Universalists are supposed to, what's the word, people? Embrace. I think for ASL, this is love. Right? Love. Huh? Hold somebody. Meet them where they are. Try your best to understand. Do your best to ask them to tell us more without assuming anything about them. Now, it's all true. I like fried chicken, and I mostly vote Democratic. It's true, mostly. But I've been known to flip the script. The Green Party, the Working Families Party, the Socialist Party. I voted for a socialist candidate for president 3 times. Dr. Leonora Fulani, professor at City University of New York, has run for president under the socialist designation multiple times. I gave her my vote because I didn't think either one of those males, white males, deserved my vote. All right. Let's just close this out. Systemic discrimination on a societal level and the othering that leads to institutional discrimination and even political policies that single out people. Right now, there are so many bills. I counted over 300 in state, city, county, federal bodies deemed with the power to create laws, rules, financial opportunities or lack of financial opportunities. Every single system in our nation is converging on hate. Not in every state, but in too many of them. We, the people that place love, did I say it? Inherent worth and dignity, did I say it? Visibility, respect, at the center of relational ways we walk through life, owe it to our siblings, no matter how they understand themselves. To step up and do more. If you're a writer, write. If you're an artist, paint or sculpt. Create. Huh, Sister Kim, what you gonna create on that kiln? Create, right? Become aware of your own unconscious biases. We're going to offer a 6-session course here at the UU on things around non-binary, GLBTQIA. We're going to offer 6 sessions. You can watch the sessions at home, and then we're going to come together to talk. I need to talk to you about it so we can figure out how to gain greater profile in Clark County and be a place where all those people who have been otherized know, come here. We got you. We love you. We want you. 6 sessions. We've got approximately 12 weeks. So I've got to hurry up and have Saturdays or Friday nights or something where I can get you to engage. And you can do it from home, but I'd love it if some of you would come and engage in person. Be aware, people. Please be aware of the language. I didn't always use my pronouns. I need to. My tag should be on me. He, him, his. I commit to wearing it going forward all the time. Broaden your social circle. See, it used to be like, oh, I have one Negro friend. How many of you still can say that? I have one Latino neighbor. Broaden your social circles. If you aren't friends with people in that LGBTQIA community, what's going on with you? Come have a pastoral conversation with your minister. Because I would dare say, if you're not embracing the world, you've got some unconscious or conscious biases that you're living with. Speak up, support, show up, right? The Trans Pride program, we had a table at it last year, didn't we, Kim? Trans Pride? We had more than a table. Yes, we did. Let's do more. All right, so I'm gonna close you out. I wanted to read to you just a couple short things from people that shared online. This is from he, him, age 29. His name's Ryan. Being visible means being authentically me, not hiding my trans identity to please cis society, but instead living my truth. It means not hiding in a closet. It means being out and proud. With anti-trans legislation passing through House and state governments nationwide, being visible is more important than ever. It's a form of protest. Trans people have always existed, and we will always exist. Our visibility proves that. We will never be erased. They cannot erase us. We will continue to rise up, be authentic, and be visible. 1. 2, Cameron, age 40, they, them pronouns. Visibility begins on the inside. It took a long time for me to see and accept myself fully. I struggled for years with the notion that I was required to present myself within the constraints of what society deemed acceptable. It was okay to be a tomboy in sports, but that ended the minute I stepped off an athletic field or walked into the workplace. I never understood why I was so unhappy whenever I looked in the mirror. But I started making small changes over time. I threw away all of my women's clothes, cut my hair, and removed parts of myself I could no longer identify with as a person. With each layer removed, I finally found myself. Last one, Monroe, 35, she, her pronouns. My definition of visibility is showing up in the maximum capacity for life, being present and living in my truth to the best of my ability, whether at my job, with my friends, family, or chosen family. My visibility journey means being responsible for how I choose to show up in the world, not just for me, but for the person who sees me and can relate to or identify with my truth. Here's the truth, people. Everyone is beautiful in their own way. Is that something we can say? Everyone is beautiful. Let's not let a single day go by in our lifetimes where we don't show that to the people we meet, spend time with, pass by on the street. Those old ways of nodding to someone when you see them, it matters. A smile, it still matters. Keep on being the love. The world needs it. Amen.
This song is called A Guy Named Joe by a group called Coyote Grace. The singer is a transgender man named Josh Clipp, who wrote this as he found his new singing voice after he began taking testosterone during his transition. As you listen to the song, I encourage you to read the lyrics that have been provided in your order of service and consider times in your life when your desire for change surpassed your fear of it. Today, Alok encouraged us to consider the true purpose of visibility. Mere visibility does not equate to a recognition of dignity. In fact, when we require people to wear their identity markers on their sleeves for our purpose of categorization and exposure, we're prioritizing our curiosity over their safety. Today, I encourage you to accept the responsibility to continue learning, even in situations where you're not being taught, where your hand isn't being held. International Asexuality Day is coming up on April 6th. This is an opportunity for you to explore the many facets of asexuality and learn how to be a great ace ally. I also want to mention that today is specifically the Transgender Day of Visibility. We have another Sunday dedicated to the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is much more solemn. So I would encourage you to carry with you a celebratory spirit today, a celebratory and curious and engaged spirit as we engage in the celebration of people who are gender creative and still living among us and giving us the opportunity to celebrate them as they are still alive. Unrelated, but coming up is Earth Day. So please plan to stay after the service on April 23rd if you're available to help us clean up our backyard.
God blessed me by making me transsexual for the same reason God made wheat, but not bread, and fruit, but not wine, so that humanity might share in the act of creation. My cis-sexist patriarchal society tells me that my gender is immutable, unquestionable, and inescapable. It tells me that my gender is handed down by strangers and enforced by everyone I meet, that gender is rooted in compliance and conformity. Queer society, trans society, tells me that my gender is my own. It is what I make of it. It tells me that my gender is changeable, evolving, transformational. That gender is rooted in joy and self-love and power. In a world that is increasingly hostile to nonconformity of many kinds, but especially gender, it is not always safe to share our stories. In a country that is increasingly restricting our presence, from public spaces to healthcare to library shelves. Every enclave where our safety is ensured and our stories are told is precious. Every young mind who is encouraged towards self-expression and freedom is a joyous victory to celebrate. Please, I invite you in our coffee hour to enjoy some queer society with me. I brought a whole stack of books. And I will leave you with this. Come, whoever you are. Come share in the act of creation.
Thank you, Margaret. And now, please join with me We release that which was called with love and gratitude, and we extinguish the flame, but not our commitment to being a beacon in the desert. This burns brightly until we gather again. Please take a moment now to ruminate on the service and ground yourselves once more before you step out back into your day. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you to Marin for the fresh, beautiful flowers. Next week's service is Easter Sunday with the Reverend Gordon Clay Bailey. Please today enjoy our coffee hour through those doors. Announcements will continue to roll during our friendship break.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you all.